Good evening, everybody. It's Tuesday, February 3rd, 2026, and this is the third episode of Cold Blooded After Dark. Definitely not the final episode. I'm your host, Travis from Python Susie, and with me in the studio is Doc from Voids R Us. Today, we are stripping away the hype and getting down to the reality of keeping and breeding reptiles. Everybody sees the highlight reel on social media, the egg cutting, the new morphs, the sales. They don't see the work, this cost and the sacrifice or the planning behind the scenes. Tonight, Doc is going to take us on a little trip that highlights all the behind the scenes of reptile breeding. What is up, Doc?
Hey, what's going on, guys? Well, what is up? Just came back from the SCRE. Amazing show. The weather was kind of bad. If you're in Georgia, if you are anywhere in the northern states, we're fine. You guys are fine. But I think the first day scared people a little bit.
Yeah.
But we had a great show. A lot of people made some sales, so I can't complain. Was a great show as always, as Bob throws. Some of the vendors that came like from outside of the state, they were kind of stranded. Like all the restaurants were closed. They didn't have staff, so that
Oh,
that was
really?
that. Yeah, I mean, people had to go to a Chinese buffet just to have something to eat because there was like no restaurants open. Not even like Chick-fil-A was open on Saturday
There's
evening.
nothing better than a Chinese buffet.
I mean, you get a lot of bang for your buck, right? So it was fun just to give you, and then I was catching up with all the husbandry, which is something that we're gonna be talking about tonight. That everything that gets out of your hands end up pushing you behind on your husbandry, and you have to catch up no matter what.
Yeah.
Like the animals are not gonna wait. If you want to go on vacation, they're not gonna wait. So um,
I certainly hear you
but,
there. Who do we have in the
what's up?
chat there? We've got Choke Artist Exotics, fellow Idahoan, almost in Canada, way up in the northern end of the state. Thanks for tuning in. We got Holly from Texoma Exotics, one of our sponsors, our lady behind the scenes. Always love Holly. And we've got, I'm not sure what it is, but thanks for coming. Appreciate it. And Choke Artist Exotic says, did you sell any Burmese pythons? I don't think you did, especially in Georgia.
We can have Burmese here. When I used to have Burmese pythons was back in Brazil, which I couldn't sell either, but there's that. Unfortunately, here we're bound to the local authorities, the ruling. So we cannot have any native species either. So we cannot have corn snakes, and we can have, of course, burms because of Florida. They follow a lot what happens in Florida. So
Yeah.
because if you go to South Georgia, the climate's very close to what we have in South Georgia. We have very close to the climate in Florida. So they don't want to take the risk. We can't
Yeah.
have soft furs here either.
Yeah, that's fair. Joke Artist Exotic says, time to move. I got to agree with him. You got
Well,
to
my
go where
plan. Go ahead, Trav.
there's no regulation. Come to Idaho, where
Idaho is a little bit.
happiness freezes over.
The problem with Idaho is that I'm not gonna have any regulation, but I cannot ship snakes either because it's like freaking cold. So my plan, to be honest, is either go to North Carolina or Tennessee. I'm more inclined to Tennessee now. So eventually, when I pay off my house, I'm gonna probably move to Tennessee with the family, get the 95 acres that my wife wants.
You're going to be there with 242 other ball python breeders in Tennessee, because I feel like that's like where they all go.
Probably. You can have ASFs. The climate is good. Is not bad. So, because one of my biggest concerns, and that's part of it, the what we have on the show is be sustainable. So, like with the rodents, if you're too hot or too cold, is a
Yeah.
problem. So I'm leaning towards more a mild temperature, even though it's a lot. It's very hot in Tennessee. I can manage the heat better than it's easier for me to manage the heat better than the cold.
Yeah, I hear you there. So, speaking of sustainability, tonight we're talking about the 5 pillars of reptile breeding. And you put some information together for us to go over and distribute to our viewers, things that you consider to be important to make it, not only make it, but to keep making it over a long period of time. Now, you've been doing this since what, 2016, at least here in the States?
Yeah, I've started like the whole breeding. Um, I started the whole breeding in 2020. So, but I bred, as I said, like I was breeding animals before, since '99 in Brazil. I had my first litter of boas in '99, but here in the US, I started keeping probably 2018, and 2020 is when I decided to actual breed. And I
Okay.
went through a lot of struggles. So I started like putting together what I've been through, and decided to put something that I can share with you guys that I think it's important.
Yeah, so to that end, you've got the first pillar, which is define your goals. So give us some insight on that, Rafi.
So basically, you have to decide where you want to go, right? When you're talking about breeding, is that do you want to do it professionally as a business person and have a lot of animals that you have to sell? Do you want to have it as a hobby? And that you have to have that in mind from the beginning, or you can start as a hobby and then you can decide what you're going to do, or you just want to breed some animals just for fun, none of those are wrong. You just have to have in mind what you want to do so you can plan accordingly. It's very hard to put together, and that's why I call the first pillar the foundation. So
Right.
you have to have your plans and your goals before you start. Decide what you want to do first. Try to set a plan and then follow that plan. And of course, you can change your plans afterwards, but you have to have something in mind. And that might sound a little cliche, but you have to have at least a 5-year business plan if you want to do this either as a side gig, or you want to do this full time eventually. You don't have to do it full time. I mean, it's all of us dream to do this full time just because we
Right.
love the animals so much. But it has to have a foundation. Basically, if you don't have it, it's not gonna work. I put a
Yeah.
lot of time and work into this, plus my day job, and I still do not feel comfortable doing this full time yet. So
Right. I
uh,
definitely understand that. Real quick, we've got 3 point RJ 8293 just bought a pastel Enchi vanilla head hypo 50% double head DG clown. Wants to say thanks. And you have beautiful snakes. She's not talking to me because she hasn't bought it from me or he.
thank you, appreciate it.
So yeah, so you make a good point about knowing where you want to go, and I think that that's easier said than done, because I think a lot of times when you start something, whether it's breeding snakes or reptiles or anything else, you have an idea as to what you want or where you want to be or what you want to be, but that changes pretty quick when the rubber hits the road and you start getting into the daily tasks. Stephen, Courtney, thank you.
Hey, what's
Daily
going on?
tasks of maintaining everything, right? Because that's what we're going to talk about is all the stuff that happens behind the scenes, behind the social media posts and all of the, as best as you can call it, glamour of breeding reptiles, and those are business lessons that I learned a long time ago in other businesses. So what would you say about like going about figuring out what you want to be as a reptile breeder, keeper? Is it a hobby? Is it a business? I mean,
Yeah,
it's a simple question, but it's a difficult thing to quantify when you start.
I always advise people to get the grip, or get the understanding first of what breeding titles entails. Sorry, because some people start buying random animals, and that's the second pillar is the strategic planning, or the blueprint.
Right.
People don't know what they want, and they start buying, and we all of us do this. We start buying a lot of random animals just because we think they're pretty, and then you think you're gonna make a lot of money because you see people like selling ball pythons or lizards for $30,000, but that's not the reality of it. Like, just a small percentage of us hit that point that you're gonna get that amount of money. So you can, of course, you can make more than that if you put your mind, your time, and effort into it. But start breeding, like pick like a trio of animals, and just like, or a pair of animals. On that year, you just breed that pair, you grow them up. The hatchlings up, and you keep some, you sell some, just to see if that's what you want to do, because in the end,
Right.
if you don't have a plan for what are you going to do with those animals, you still have 6 or 7 animals that you have to find homes for and have room for if you don't sell them. So maybe you want to give to your friends, maybe you want to give to kids, and that's what you want to do. Like, I want to breed one pair a year, and I just for fun, I'm gonna keep one back, and I'm gonna be progressing, and I'm doing this for fun. And there's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to be a big breeder. You don't have to sell thousands of dollars or have hundreds of animals to be having fun. Maybe if you do that, you're not going to have fun anymore, because it's going to be labor intensive, and that's not what you want.
Right.
uh, when it gets to the blueprint, or your strategic planning, is I always tell people, and I get a lot of inquiries of beginners. They want to buy the animal, but they don't have enclosures yet, they don't have racks yet, and then you're going to receive that animal and you don't have where to put that animal. So you have to plan that. I always advise people, maybe to, if you want to start breeding for fun, start with like a PVC rack, like a smaller one, and like there's like ones with 5 slots that you can get from Sea Serpents, Reptile
Right.
Basics,
Yeah.
and then you don't have to spend a lot of money. Maybe you get a second-hand one, and just like try it out, so you don't spend like, oh, I want to go full on, I want to have ARS or freedom breeder racks, and I see people with all these racks, and it's a lot of investment without knowing if you want to do this or not.
No, I think that's a
uh,
really good point. So, like for me, when I'm looking at the pillars that you put together, I see each pillar having kind of a foundational, um, what do you want to call it? A foundational methodology, right? Where it's really where you have to start. When we talk about define your goal, you can't define your goal unless you have a pretty decent understanding of what your limitations are, what you are capable of doing time wise, financially, um, your interest or your knowledge of the snakes, for example. Like, are you somebody that has never really kept reptiles, but this is something that fascinates you, so you want to get into it? I think one of the biggest mistakes people make is not realizing what they really are capable of doing and what they actually know going into things. Knowing what you don't know, to me, in business is it's priceless. I, case in point, I had a security company many years ago, and I got into it because I was an engineer and I designed imaging systems. And so I said, you know what, this is a really good analog. I'll get into surveillance and sell surveillance and security systems to people. Well, that sounded great, but it turns out 90% of my job was running cables, power cables, coax, because Wi-Fi was just picking up. And so the job was absolutely nothing like I had envisioned it. And on top of that, I had an employee that I had to manage. So I ended up with a list of 10 things that I had to do on a regular basis, and 8 of those things I didn't like. And so I learned a lot about myself. And so I think that is a really good thing for people to think about when they get into doing something like this before they invest a lot of money in it is like, how well do you know yourself? When the rubber meets the road and you have 200 or 300 snakes and you're raising your own rats, and 60% of your time is raising your rats, taking care of the rats, and the other 40% of the time is cleaning tubs, is that really where you want to be?
Yeah, and trying to find because if you love reptiles, you don't have to breed them. Like you can have
Right.
15 reptiles, like a diverse collection, and be happy and just enjoy and make beautiful enclosures and share with people your passion. You don't have to breed. But going back, like if you decide to breed, so like that's what you want to do, and that's really what your goal is. When it comes to equipment, pick what you need, not what you want at the beginning, unless you really have the money to spend on this equipment. But get a good thermostat, get a good rack system. If you're buying used, maybe replace the heat tape and just try it out first, at least on the first year, and then see what it's all about, like what entails, like what's your cost involved in it,
Right.
to breed these animals. Like if you can source rodents, even because I get some customers that they don't even have pet stores to buy rodents from, like locally. So you have to think of all of those things, that entails breeding, like that you're gonna need those rodents. Like you can't pass a week if you have hatchlings, freshly hatched hatchlings. You cannot not have that week. Oh, I have 30 hatchlings and I can't find hopper mice. Well, that's a problem. So it's not only about cost, but you need to have those. You need a reliable source. And when it's hatchling season, sometimes those guys are going to give priority to the big guys that buy hundreds of hoppers, not you that are going to buy 50,
Right.
15, 20 hoppers.
No,
Uh,
that's a good point. I paid attention to that pretty early on, especially when I look at where I'm at geographically here in East Idaho and what is available for me, for inputs, like for rodents. Like there is nothing here, absolutely nothing. So my options are buying frozen thawed from Fuzzy Acres, Cold Blooded Cafe, any that you name the big ones, or raising my own.
if
And
you if if you
I
want to do
started with the
frozen,
frozen
right?
thawed, and that's expensive. I mean, the price went up 2 times in a year, and so I decided to, drive 4 hours, get some ASFs, and start raising my own ASFs to cut costs. But the thing with that is, you cut the cost, the trade off is time. So that's
Your
another thing that
time.
you've got to ask yourself is which is more important, saving money or saving time?
And if you have the money and if you have the time, like sometimes it's not a choice, right?
Yeah.
Uh, You have to decide either or. I always think it's safe to breed your own, but even breeding your own, you have to have an outlet if something happens. If it gets to the point that you're and I think Steven mentioned that he had like from Leviathan. I think they have like a heat wave, and then their breaker trip, and then they kill most of the rodents, and that's something that you're
Mm.
not expecting, and it can happen to all of us if you don't have something in place that to fulfill that need that you have now. It can be problematic.
Yeah.
um, Another thing, where are you going to source your animals from if you decide to breed? I always tell people, if you don't know a breeder, try to find someone with high ratings on Morph Market. Even better if somebody knows the breeder, because it's very important where you're getting your animals from. It doesn't matter if it's high end or low end. If you can even call a low end animal, it's just like
Right.
a because you can bring diseases. You have to realize that you have to quarantine those animals, which is extremely important and most people don't do. So, hey, what's going on, Michael? And I think it's very important. Like, this is one of the most important things to me is quarantine. It doesn't matter who I buy it from. I always quarantine my animals. So think of quality animals. You can go the same morphs, but from different breeders that are line breeding their morphs. Like Aussie is a big example of the Orange Dream. Barnhart Black Pastel, which is even different line of pastel. Save the money if you really want to get that morph. Save the money and just invest on the animals with the highest quality that you can. Even if you're breeding for pets, they're going to look much better, and the sellability is going to be much higher. And I always tell people too, on another note, that a lot of people say that females like 2 years and males is like a year. Sometimes that's not the reality. The majority of my females go between 30 months to 3 years and a half. Like the majority of them. Of course, I have the ones that on 18 months they're already building follicles, but I have some that are 4 and they haven't started building yet.
Right.
So you have to take that into consideration. Time. Don't rely so much on females and then just have one male. You always have to have your backup male. It's really important because you never know when something it happened to me and it happened to a lot of people. You have to have more males. Sometimes you have a male that you can put to 6, 7 females throughout the year. Sometimes that male is going to stop eating and you're only going to be able to put to 1 or 2 females. So don't slack on males. That's a big important part of it. If you are known by a genetic too, let's say the Leviathan, another example. Now they're known for the ultrasuns and sunset, and then people think of them. So try to specialize in something that people are going to know you for, and then you can branch
Right.
out from there.
So
Now
let's
the
touch
big
a little
war.
bit on something that you had put in the notes. You said quality over speed.
And that's why I'm saying, if you line breed your animals, if you get better animals, it's better to start with incomplete dominance, for example, like gene pack incomplete dominance, and start recessive project. It's better to, if you want to do clowns, or if you want to do DG clowns, let's put it this way. It You don't go like a clown head DG to a DG head clown, and then you're only going to produce. But if you get like a gene pack animal, it's better to start from the bottom and build up with all those genes that is going to pay off in the future.
Right.
That's my recommendation on speed. Like, don't try to catch up to the big guys because they have been doing this for 20 years. and they have a lot of things that they don't show. So like, don't try to follow the crowds. Just create your own projects and build on that. Don't, especially at the beginning, like, don't get the rush. Oh, I want to make a Pompeii. Well, a lot of people try to make Pompeis, and now we have the Pompeii projects that people are trying to sell. There's going to be a 3 gene clown that is missing spot nose to make the Pompeii or whatever it is, and then you have a flood in the market. I think
Right.
the hypo puzzle is an amazing project, but look how many people are working with puzzle now. It's going to be the new clown when it comes to lower value animals in the future. So they're beautiful animals, but a lot of people are working with them. A good example is Travis working with the tri-stripe. Not a lot of people is working with tri-stripe, so he can make unique projects.
Yeah,
So the big
that
word.
was one of the things I did was pick something that I thought was beautiful and not everywhere.
Exactly, and that's your passion project. If you have passion for a project, it's gonna work out, unless it's something that nobody cares. But there's always gonna be someone that loves the project just like you do. I like sunset. A lot of people don't like sunset, but I love it. This is one of. I want to make it brighter. I want to make it an animal that is not gonna dull out as an adult. So I'm gonna work incomplete dominants that do that, and
Right.
that's very important to do. Just because somebody is cheating on your project doesn't mean that it's a bad project. It's just like, I don't like monsoon. I think it's very limiting. But if some people have a love for monsoon, good for them. They can work monsoon. It's not everything that you like is gonna please other people. So
Right.
just follow your intuition, have some foresight of things that people are not doing, and you're gonna do fine. That's what I do. I try to focus. Some people love ultramel, some people love monarch. I love both in different ways. So
Yeah. I think there was something that Ozzy Boyd had said last summer in one of his chats, which was something to the effect, "You'll be successful if you don't quit."
exactly.
So the people that are making it now they just didn't quit. They just kept going. So when you get a setback, um, you don't let that stop you. You work around it. You adapt and overcome.
And that's for everything, basically,
Yeah.
in life. People that are successful, they had to put a lot of grind. Don't think that people that start from the ground up, that things just work out for them because they're lucky. Sometimes you're lucky, but luck to me is when the right opportunity come and you are prepared. That's all it is. It's not
Yeah.
just like that. You have to be prepared. So basically, that's what I think.
And that's just happening to be prepared when the right time comes. And then
Yep.
recognizing that that's the time. That's the other thing is knowing when the time is to make that
And,
move.
and sometimes you have to take a leap of faith.
Yeah. Yeah, it can be staring you in the face and you don't realize it, and then you don't capitalize on it, and then you miss the opportunity.
Ask Bob
So,
Zoo. He will tell you. He started selling insurance, and he said that he could barely make ends meet when he started this, and now look at him. Like, but he is a guy that grinds. He made like a lot of shows. Like, he would go to every reptile show in Van. So now he has his own reptile show. So kudos
yeah,
to him.
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, so we talked about defining your goals. I think part of defining your goal is knowing yourself. Strategic planning, you need to be pragmatic about what you're capable of doing and marrying that with the strategy that you want to employ as a reptile breeder, right? So there's an intersectionality between what you can afford to do, what you have the time to do, and the goal for your breeding operation.
Exactly. And then it comes to the big word that everybody talks about, but nobody kinds of explain in details because it's more than money. So the third pillar is going to be sustainability. So read for us what sustainability means, Trav, if you have it open, so
Yeah, so
people
I put this
understand.
together. So sustainability in this context is adopting practices or strategies that ensure long-term profitability and growth without depleting personal or economic resources.
So
And so that's
basically,
kind
that's
of a, say again?
no. So basically, that's what I mean. Sustainability doesn't only mean that it's going to be financial sustainable. You can have lots of money and not be successful because it's not sustainable, meaning you don't have time, for example.
Right. Or you end up with burnout because you have built a structure that you think is optimum, but you didn't know yourself well enough. When you start executing on that, you get burned out because you didn't realize you were going to be spending X number of hours cleaning rats, X number of hours cleaning and washing tubs, right? You thought maybe, maybe you didn't think, and it was, holding pretty snakes the whole time.
Yeah, and that's what I tell people. So sustainability. I work 8 hour day, or sometimes a 10 hour day at the office on my day job, and then immediately come back, talk to my wife, kiss my kids, and I come to the basement and I start cleaning racks. I have 15 levels on my mini series from ARS, and that takes me. It all depends because when they all decide to shed at the same time, I replace the whole cocoa off the tub, and I wash the tub like with like soap, and like I completely clean the tub. It takes me anywhere from 3 to even 5 hours to clean that entire rack, and I don't stop until all the animals are they have the water changed, are clean, or have the thing swapped. Do you have those 6 hours? That's my question. Are you willing to put the work and have those animals healthy and clean and fed? Because they don't wait. They're not car parts that you put in a shelf and then just forget
Right.
about them because they're just inventory. Your hatchlings are living things, and if you don't proper care for them, they're gonna get sick. They're gonna get skinny. You have to pay attention to those animals. Like it's not just cleaning. You have to look at them, look at their cloacas, sometimes look at their mouth, see if they don't have a sore because they rode and beat them. So there's a lot involvement in the husbandry, and that's part of sustainability. Do you have the physically capability? Sometimes I go to bed at 2 a.m. I'm sore, I'm hurt, and I still have to do it next day because once you finish cleaning the racks, it start all over again because
Starts
it's
over
Monday
again.
again.
It's never ending.
I told my wife once that my plan was to do everything by Friday, and so we could have the weekends free. That doesn't happen because I'm the only one in the house that deal with the snakes. She helps me a lot with the rodents, a lot. So does my son, but still, it's a grind because the rodent cleaning day is the same feeding day because I pull all the weans or the pups, and then I have to feed the snakes. So I cannot stop until all the snakes have eaten and I have opened all the tubs and look inside to see if there are no live rodents in there that can hurt the snakes. So that's a big part of it. Another part of the sustainability is the money, of course.
Right.
So
Let's talk about that for a few minutes.
So when talking about money, is not just to feed your animals, right? It comes to on the purchasing of the animals. So a lot of people would put animals in their credit cards, or they're gonna use PayPal credit, and you have to make sure you can use those as tools, or they can get a new credit card with no interest for a year. I understand I've done that in the past, but I knew that I would have the money to pay it off. I'm just getting a interest-free loan so I can have like cash flow if I want a more expensive animal. But I'll advise people to not get into that because they want snakes. This is a hobby. for now, and if you're at the beginning, this can be very taxing, and it can be stressful, because then not only you have to take care of the animals, but then you have debt now that you have to pay off, and that's not fun. Like paying credit card interest just to have reptiles is not a good strategy.
Yeah.
So I tell people, like, buy what you can afford, and you can start from the bottom and just be and talk to people and see if they can give you some advice. But if you can't buy the visual, now wait, and then you buy the visual. If you're really having that urge to breed, buy two hats and breed hat to hat. You're not going to be as fast, but at least you're not going to be in debt. Just do it on your own means, and then you're going to be probably going to be happier this way. And the rodents, of course, you have to take into consideration what's going to be your future rodent bill, not your rodent bill now. And people start buying animals, and they go from 5 to 10 to 30, and they don't realize that they don't have a cheaper way to buy it directly from a breeder. They buy from the pet store, and they buy $5 a rodent, and then you have $150 a week just for the adults. And that's not sustainable, again, unless you have that money. You have to feed those animals. So you either are okay paying from your own income, like your day job, and then that's
Right.
okay. You budget for that, or you have to breed them and have the time to breed them. So you can have 30 now, and then if you have 10 clutches, you need 30 plus 60 on the hatchling. So that bill can go up really fast.
Yeah.
I told Travis, and he said the same. Probably my savings, not counting my labor, is probably 75% savings when you breed your own rodents. And I'm 100% sustainable. Like, I don't. It has been like a long time since I bought any rodents. And sometimes I have less, and I'm kind of like stressing out, but a lot of
Right.
times I have a lot, and I even have to cull them because I don't do frozen thawed. So in that way, you have a waste, right? I don't have the space for all the grow outs. I feed as much as I can. Like, I give like seconds and thirds to the big females, and on the to the males, by the way. But a lot of times, I have leftovers that I don't have anything to do
Right.
with. I have some boas, but I don't want to get my boas too fat too. So on the
Yeah. So
husbandry.
that's so we kind of went into husbandry, pillar 4.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about that. Like you said, the grind. A lot of the work that goes into this is not glamorous at all. It's very time consuming, and it's not, in and of itself, it's not rewarding, right? But these are living things, and you've got to take care of them, and you've got to make sure that they're cared for properly. They've got the all at minimum, all of the basics, proper heat, proper temperature, humidity, um, feeding, and it's not on your time scale. It's on theirs. Like you
and
said, hatchling.
and I have an example of, like, with this cold front that we had. I had a friend. They have all their snakes in a shed, insulated shed, and she told me that she lost two animals because of the cold, and another one has an RI infection, and they were desperate trying to heat them up. So you have to take into consideration, is your room good enough as far as insulation? Do you have another heat source? Do you have a generator if you run out of power during like a very cold weather? And those are
Right.
all things that you have to take into consideration. Talk to people, ask, like, what do I have to do to make sure that my animals are going to be properly cared for? So it happens. Heat, cold. You have to keep those animals alive, basically. Not only alive, but alive and well.
Yeah.
So you have to have control on your phone. if possible. I have like a Wi-Fi thermometer that you can check humidity, and you can check, because if you're not home, at least you can tell someone like, look what's happening, because the temperature dropped 10 degrees. Or I have an alarm on my racks. Once the power goes out, I have a siren that just like start going off, so I know that something is wrong. Then I have it on the incubators too. So if
Yeah. So what do you use for your temperature control for your automation?
that again,
What do you use for your temperature control, your automation?
I use GoV, they're GoV like thermometer sensors, and I have, for example, in my incubator, I have three, because I have in different levels of my incubators. So I have three in the incubators on each one, and then I can show you. So I have these that have a hub, and they're like Wi-Fi enabled. So I get on my phone exactly the temperature that the room is and the humidity. And so right now you can see it's 80 degrees in here and 57. The humidity is 57 because I have the door open. It's usually 60% of all time, at least.
No, that's nice. That's my goal here in East Idaho, where it's 25% humidity. Right now, I can get it to about 40% humidity in here without, um, going through a lot of effort. And to me, that's not enough. I want to get it to 60 at
Well,
least.
I'm in Georgia, but my room here at one point now on the winter time was at 29, and that's why
Yeah.
I got that guy over there. It's a wall unit, a humidifier that is attached to an RO system, so it auto feeds the water, so I don't have to refill it, and it's constantly measuring the humidity and just like keeping it perfect. So I don't have as many stuck sheds and anything like that. Although it happens sometimes, those are ball pythons. I never have issues with stuck sheds with my boas. The ball pythons are kind of tricky if you don't keep the
Yeah.
humidity high.
Yeah. So that's what I'm, now that I've finally gotten moved in here, that's the next step is, I've got a couple humidifiers picked out. I'd like to know which one you're using, and that, I'm going to plumb one in if the aquariums don't work, which they probably won't. They probably won't. They'll get me close, but they won't get me there.
Travis,
So
is it me or is your mic that is crackling? I'm hearing a lot of crackling right now.
I hear crackling from you.
It's funny because when you speak is when I hear the crackling.
Hmm. I wonder, hey, people in the chat, which one of us are crackling? Is it both of us?
We are
Tiger God
crackers.
Morris, hey y'all. Thanks for stopping by. Texome Exotics.
Uh,
I hear
so
dog crackling. It's always you.
it's always me. Let me try something different really quick. I have the.
Is that your mic on your shirt?
No, actually not. I'm not using the mic. That mic is connected to the computer, so I don't know what's. Let me try to use that mic as a matter of fact. Let's see what's gonna happen. Yeah, because it's becoming very annoying.
So
Is it
while you're
better
getting
now?
that set up, I want to talk a little bit about the salesman reality and the what if scenarios, because that's one of the things that people, I would say, they don't think about how difficult it can be to sell a snake. I mean, think about it. That if someone were to ask you, what's the hardest thing to sell? One of the top three things ought to be a snake. You know what I mean? It's like you're not selling something anybody needs, and there's a lot of people that don't like them. So, you know, pick the
Trav,
hardest thing to sell.
let me get out and try to get in again, just because
Okay.
it's like, and I'm hearing the crackling when you talk, but let me see if it's me. Let me get out